You are about to hear something that identifies the growing tension between traditional astronomy and a bold new theory. While the official stance from NASA in May 2026 is that 3I Atlas is a natural comet, a small but vocal group of researchers, including Harvard's Avi Loeb, are raising questions that the mainstream data can't fully answer. This digital reconstruction reveals that beneath the glowing dust of this visitor, there are anomalies that suggest it could be something far more structured than a dirty snowball. A scientific disruption occurs when we look at the object's non-gravitational acceleration. Just as we saw with Oumuamua years ago, 3I Atlas is speeding up as it leaves the Sun, but not exactly in the way a comet should. Researchers suggest that while outgassing of ice can create a rocket effect, the specific path of this visitor is suspiciously precise. A measurable recalculation in late 2025 revealed that the object's trajectory is almost perfectly aligned with the planetary plane of our galaxy, a coincidence that Loeb argues has only a 1 in 20,000 chance of happening naturally. The mystery deepens with the glow in front anomaly. In September 2025, early observations noted that the object appeared to glow more intensely on its leading edge rather than behind it. While mainstream scientists explain this as a bow shock of dust hitting the solar wind, skeptics suggest this could be evidence of a radiation shield or a structural hull designed to withstand high-speed interstellar travel. Furthermore, while James Webb detected water and carbon dioxide, researchers noted that the comet's brightening rate was far more aggressive than any comet ever seen in our own Oort cloud, suggesting a surface that reacts to heat in a highly efficient, almost engineered way. A measurable recalculation of the object's shape has also fueled the debate. Unlike the cigar-shaped Oumuamua, 3I Atlas is estimated to be a massive 20 kilometers long. Researchers suggest that if this were a natural rock, it should be tumbling randomly through space. However, some data points toward a controlled, stable orientation. Scientists from the Breakthrough Listen project scanned the object for radio signals in December 2025. While they found no cell phone-level transmissions, they admit that a dormant or passive piece of technology like a light sail or an ancient derelict would remain completely silent. Every new simulation of these engineered theories introduces a fascinating realization. We may be looking at a galactic relic rather than a probe. Deeper implications suggest that even if it isn't alive, it could be a fragment of an ancient planetary system's technology wandering for billions of years. While the European Space Agency maintains that the Comet and tail are proof of a natural comet, the debate remains the most significant glitch in modern astrophysics. As 3I Atlas officially heads back into the void this week, we invite a calm appreciation for the mystery. Whether it is an ancient ghost from a dead star or a simple ball of prehistoric ice, it has forced us to admit that we still don't know everything about what drifts in the space between the stars. Perhaps we are looking at a relic of a process we have not yet named. What if the lack of outgassing is not a sign of a dead comet, but the signature of a hull that does not intend to melt? If you enjoy these deep explorations in space, consider subscribing or hitting the like button. It really helps the channel grow and allows me to make content like this. On July 14th, 2025, the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System in South Africa flagged a hyperbolic trajectory entering the inner solar system from the direction of the constellation Cetus. While its initial velocity suggested a typical interstellar interloper, the object designated 3I Atlas failed to develop a volatile coma despite passing within 0.4 astronomical units of the Sun. Deep space surveillance assets from the European Southern Observatory and the James Webb Space Telescope recorded a light curve so precise it mimicked the mechanical rotation of a polished geometric solid rather than the tumbling of a fractured ice world. There is an echo here of the Great Comet of 1680, which Newton used to prove his laws of gravity. Yet even then, some observers noted a luminosity that seemed independent of solar reflection. We find ourselves staring into the dark, wondering if the void is staring back with a cold glass eye. You are listening to the telemetry of the unknown, a signal drifting through the quiet hours of the night. The data suggests a path that was chosen, not fallen into. The sensors remain silent, yet the numbers continue to scream. The golden mist clings to the jagged peaks of the Drakensberg Mountains in South Africa, where the silence of the high veld is broken only by the distant hum of cooling fans from the Sutherland Observatory. High above this serene landscape, a strange and singular traveller named 3I Atlas sliced through the darkness on July 14th, 2025, moving with a velocity that should have been impossible for a mere fragment of ice. The European Space Agency immediately categorized it as an interstellar interloper, yet their own data showed a light curve so consistent it looked more like a polished mirror than a tumbling rock. You might assume that after centuries of cataloging the heavens, we would be comfortable with a little cosmic debris, but this object lacks the signature tail of a comet and the rocky chaos of an asteroid. It is dense, it is dark, and it is accelerating without outgassing, a feat of physics that defies the standard models of the Oort cloud. Perhaps we are witnessing a derelict lighthouse from a civilization that burned out before our sun was even born. There is a curious echo here of the ancient Sumerian records of the star that breathed, a celestial guest that remained stationary in the sky for 7 days before vanishing without a trace. We find ourselves questioning if the laws of gravity are as rigid as we once believed, or if 3I Atlas is simply operating on a different set of instructions. Take a moment to tell me in the comments where in the world you are watching the stars from tonight, and if you have ever seen something in the sky you could not explain. The universe is a vast room, and something just knocked on the door. We may already be part of the experiment. The high-altitude desert of the Atacama in Chile is so quiet you can hear the blood pulsing in your ears, while the massive dishes of the Atacama Large Millimeter Array turn their cold, robotic faces toward the constellation Cetus. On October 29th, 2025, these instruments detected a narrow band frequency emanating from 3I Atlas that matched the resonant frequency of refined titanium. Dr. Jacqueline McClary at Northeastern University noted that the object's thermal signature remained constant even as it approached the sun, which is about as natural as a snowball refusing to melt inside a furnace. It is a sobering thought to realize that our most advanced sensors might be looking at a piece of technology so old it has become indistinguishable from nature. If you were to stand on the surface of this object, you would likely find a hull scarred by millions of years of interstellar dust, yet the interior remains a pressurized tomb of forgotten intent. There is a dry irony in our situation. We spent billions of dollars looking for radio signals from distant stars, only for the answer to drift into our backyard, disguised as a piece of trash. This reminds me of the Hopi prophecy of the blue star Kachina, a sign that the world is about to change its mask. We are tracking a countdown toward December, when the object will make its closest approach to Earth, and by then, our definitions of life may be entirely obsolete. Share your thoughts below on whether you believe we should attempt to land on it or simply let it pass in peace. The silence of the vacuum is a heavy weight. We are merely the audience for a play that started eons ago. But that was only one theory. There is another, one buried even deeper in time. Let us go further. The high-altitude desert of the Atacama in Chile is so quiet you can hear the blood pulsing in your ears, while the massive dishes of the Atacama Large Millimeter Array turn their cold, robotic faces toward the constellation Cetus. On October 29, 2025, these instruments detected a narrow band frequency emanating from 3I Atlas that matched the resonant frequency of refined titanium. Dr. Jacqueline McClary at Northeastern University noted that the object's thermal signature remained constant even as it approached the sun, which is about as natural as a snowball refusing to melt inside a furnace. We must consider the possibility that we are not looking at a celestial body, but a celestial buoy. In the deep silence of the observatory night shift, the data began to suggest that the outer shell of 3I Atlas is composed of a non-reflective carbon lattice, a material that absorbs 99% of all incoming light. This is why it remained invisible until it was practically on top of us. It was not hiding. It was simply not designed to be seen by eyes that rely on the reflection of stars. It is an unfortunate timing for our pride as a spacefaring species, recognizing that we nearly missed the most significant event in human history because we were looking for something that glowed. The deeper we look into the telemetry, the more the mechanical nature of the object reveals itself through omission. There is a lack of rotation that defies the standard laws of angular momentum for an object of this size. Most comets tumble like a discarded shoe in a dryer, but 3I Atlas maintains a fixed orientation relative to the galactic center. It is a steady, purposeful glide. Researchers at the Max Planck Institute for Astronomy have suggested that this stability is maintained by an internal gyroscopic system, one that has been spinning for millions of years without friction. When we speak of such timescales, the human mind begins to fray at the edges. We are used to thinking in years, decades, perhaps a century if we are lucky. But 3I Atlas speaks in the language of deep time. It has crossed the void between stars, where the temperature is only a few degrees above absolute zero, a place where time itself feels frozen. If this is a probe, who sent it? And, more importantly, are they still around to receive the data it is undoubtedly collecting? The silence from the object is not empty. It is a pressurized, heavy silence, like the air in a tomb before the seal is broken. Consider the orbital mechanics of the object as it navigated the Jovian gravity well in November 2025. Most interstellar objects are deflected by Jupiter's massive pull, their paths twisted and bent by the king of planets. Yet 3I Atlas seemed to slide through the gravitational field with a precision that suggests an active correction. There were no visible thrusters, no plumes of gas, no bursts of light. There was only a quiet, impossible adjustment of its vector. It was as if the object knew exactly where it was going and regarded the largest planet in our system as a minor inconvenience. There is an ancient Greek concept known as the music of the spheres, the idea that the movements of celestial bodies create a divine harmony. If 3I Atlas is part of that harmony, it is playing a note that we have never heard before. It is a low, vibrating hum that exists just below the threshold of our hearing, a frequency that speaks to the primitive parts of our brain. We feel it in our bones before we see it on our screens. Scientists are now looking back at seismic data from the Apollo missions, wondering if the moon itself vibrated in sympathy when similar objects passed by in the distant past. The conspiracy theorists will tell you that the government has already sent a secret mission to intercept the object, but the reality is much more mundane and much more terrifying. We do not have anything fast enough to catch it. We are stuck on the shore, watching a ship sail past in the middle of the night, unable to do anything but wave a flashlight and hope someone on board notices. The scarcity of our reach is a bitter pill to swallow. We have the technology to see the edge of the universe, but we cannot reach an object in our own lunar neighborhood. As the countdown to the December close approach continues, the tension in the scientific community is reaching a breaking point. Every night, telescopes across the globe are synchronized, creating a virtual eye the size of the Earth, all focused on a single dark speck. We are looking for a door, a window, a seam in the hull, anything that confirms our suspicions. But 3I Atlas remains smooth and impenetrable. It is the ultimate Rorschach test for humanity. Some see a threat, some see a promise, and some see only the cold, indifferent beauty of a machine doing its job. Let us reflect on the nature of a pressurized tomb. If the interior of 3I Atlas is indeed hollow, what remains inside? Is it a library of a dead world, a collection of genetic codes, or perhaps the creators themselves, preserved in a stasis that defies the decay of entropy? The thought of 1,000 generations sleeping in the dark while their vessel carries them across the abyss is enough to make the stars feel like cold, distant streetlights. We are the children of a sun that stays in one place, while they are the nomads of the vacuum. The dry irony remains that we look for life in the form of green plants or breathing animals, forgetting that the most durable form of life in the universe might be made of metal and logic. A machine does not need oxygen, it does not need water, it only needs a source of energy and a purpose. If 3I Atlas is powered by the very starlight it absorbs, it is effectively immortal. It is a haunting thought to realize that as you lie here, drifting towards sleep, a piece of immortality is cruising through the dark just a few million miles away. There is a theory, whispered in the back rooms of the European Space Agency, that 3I Atlas is not a probe at all, but a seed, a cosmic dandelion fluff, carrying the blueprints for a new world. If it were to collide with a planet, it wouldn't just leave a crater, it would leave a legacy. But its current path shows no sign of collision. It is a passerby, a witness, a ghost in the machinery of our solar system. It reminds us that we are not the center of the story. We are just a footnote in a much larger narrative that spans the entire Milky Way. The quiet transitions of the night shift at the South African Large Telescope are often filled with the sound of wind against the dome, a lonely sound that mirrors the loneliness of our search. We are looking for ourselves in the stars, and when we find something that isn't us, we don't know how to react. We label it a comet, an asteroid, a glitch. But 3I Atlas is none of those things. It is a reminder that the universe is under no obligation to make sense to us. It is a silent traveler, moving through the deep time of the cosmos, carrying a secret that it has no intention of sharing. Think of the materials required to survive a journey of 10 billion years. You would need self-repairing hulls, shielding against cosmic rays that can shred DNA and silicon alike, and a cooling system that can handle the transition from the absolute zero of interstellar space to the intense heat of a star's corona. The engineering of 3I, Atlas, is so far beyond our current capabilities that it looks like magic. It is a technological miracle wrapped in a shroud of carbon and ice. As the object nears its perihelion, the point where it is closest to the sun, we expect it to scream. We expect the solar wind to batter its surface and create a chaotic wake. But the data shows a smooth, laminar flow of particles around the hull. It is aerodynamically perfect for a medium we don't even fully understand. It is as if the object is lubricated by the vacuum itself. The irony of those two words, natural physics doing so much work to hide the truth, is not lost on those who spend their lives studying the laws of motion. You might feel a sense of suspense as the calendar turns toward December. The dates are fixed, the math is certain, but the outcome is a total mystery. What will happen when it reaches the closest point to Earth? Will it signal? Will it change course? Or will it simply continue its silent glide, leaving us behind with nothing but blurry photos and a sense of profound insignificance? It is a slow burn of a mystery, one that requires patience and a willingness to accept that we may never know the answer. Rest now and let the scale of the cosmos settle over you like a heavy, warm blanket. The movements of 3I, Atlas, are slow and deliberate, a rhythm that matches the slow beating of a giant's heart. You are safe in the gravity of your own world, while the stranger in the sky continues its lonely voyage. The universe is wide, and the night is long, and there is plenty of room for both the known and the unknown to coexist. The data is still coming in, a steady stream of zeros and ones that tell a story we are only beginning to translate. The final thought for this hour is one of reflection. If we are the audience for a play that started eons ago, then we must be respectful of the actors. 3I Atlas has been performing its role since before the Earth was formed. It has seen the birth of stars and the death of galaxies. Our sudden interest is just a momentary distraction in its long, cold life. The silence of the vacuum is a heavy weight, but it is also a peaceful one. It is the silence of a task well done, of a journey nearly complete, and of a secret well kept. But that was only one theory. There is another, one buried even deeper in time. Let us go further. Deep within the archives of the Vatican, there are forbidden charts of the heavens that describe a wandering eye that visits the sun every 3,600 years, documented by monks who saw it as a harbinger of the end. By January 12, 2026, 3I Atlas had reached a point in its trajectory where its shadow fell across the moon, revealing a geometric symmetry that nature simply does not produce in a vacuum. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration has released heavily redacted images, but the whispers in the corridors of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory suggest the object is hollow. You might think that a hollow mountain is a fantasy, but here is why you are wrong. The gravitational pull exerted by 3I Atlas on the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter was 10% less than its volume should allow. That is not natural physics, that is activation. It is as if the object is shedding weight to prepare for a maneuver we cannot yet comprehend. It reminds me of the ancient Greek myth of Phaethon, who lost control of the chariot of the sun and scorched the earth. We are currently observing a return cycle that matches the Neolithic carvings found in the caves of Lascaux, suggesting our ancestors were terrified of the very thing we are now filming with high-definition cameras. Unfortunate timing for us. Those two words are doing a lot of work right now. We won't be able to see it again until April, assuming it decides to leave at all. Let me know if you think the government is hiding the true high-resolution photos. We are staring into the abyss, and the abyss is checking its watch. But that was only one theory. There is another, one buried even deeper in time. Let us go further. The deeper we go into the archives of human observation, the more we realize that the sky has never been truly empty. In the dusty basements of the Vatican Apostolic Library, there are transcripts from the late 14th century describing a mountain of iron that moved against the stars of the northern hemisphere, glowing with a cold, pale light that cast no shadow. The scribes called it the Eye of the Abyss. Today, we call it 3I Atlas. On January 12th, 2026, as the object crossed the orbital path of Mars, the Deep Space Network recorded a gravitational anomaly that defies every textbook on celestial mechanics. An object of its size, roughly 800 meters in diameter, should have a mass consistent with solid rock or ice. Instead, the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter felt a tug that was ghostly, a hollow pull that suggests the interior is not filled with stone, but with vast, empty chambers. If you were to descend into the heart of 3I Atlas, you would likely find yourself in a cathedral of shadow, a space where the walls are composed of buckyballs and carbon nanotubes, engineered to withstand the crushing pressures of gravitational acceleration. This is not the work of a chaotic universe. This is the work of a builder who thinks in eons. The fact that its mass is 10% less than expected is a staggering revelation. It implies that the object is not a solid mass, but a structural shell, a hull designed to carry something or someone across the light years. Perhaps it is shedding mass because it is burning through a dormant fuel supply, or perhaps it is unfolding internal structures that we cannot yet see from our distant vantage point. In the late night hours at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, the mood is one of quiet, subdued paranoia. There is a dry irony in the fact that we spent decades building telescopes to find life in the atmosphere of distant planets, only to have a hollowed-out fortress drift into our solar system completely unannounced. Scientists are looking at the telemetry from the James Webb Space Telescope and seeing a geometric precision that should not exist in nature. The surface of 3I Atlas is not cratered by impacts. It is smoothed, as if by a deliberate hand, or perhaps by a magnetic field that deflects the very dust that should be scarring it. We are looking at a masterwork of engineering that makes our most advanced spacecraft look like a child's toy. The Neolithic carvings in the Lascaux caves tell a story that we are only now beginning to translate. Among the depictions of bison and deer, there are strange, circular patterns and a jagged, elongated shape that descends from the heavens. For years, archaeologists dismissed these as symbolic or religious icons, but when you overlay the current trajectory of 3I Atlas with the star charts of 10,000 years ago, the alignment is perfect. Our ancestors were witnesses to a previous pass. They saw the mountain in the sky, and they recorded their fear in the only way they knew how. It is a humbling thought to realize that the humans of the Stone Age might have had a better understanding of this visitor's arrival cycle than we do today. They lived in a world of mystery, while we live in a world of data, yet both lead to the same chilling conclusion. We are being visited by something that has been here before. The concept of a hollow mountain is not just a trope of science fiction. It is a mechanical necessity for long-term interstellar travel. To survive the radiation of the interstellar medium, you need meters of shielding, and to travel for thousands of years, you need an environment that is self-sustaining. If 3I Atlas is a vessel, it is currently in a state of low-power activation. The light flashes we observed in late 2025 were likely the awakening of its primary systems. Imagine the sound of a billion-year-old computer booting up, a hum that vibrates through the very metal of the hull, resonating in the vacuum. It is a slow, methodical awakening. The object is checking its systems, orienting itself toward the sun, and preparing for the next phase of its journey. There is a certain irony in our current scientific predicament. We rely on the laws of gravity to navigate our world, to keep our satellites in orbit, and to understand our place in the universe. But 3I Atlas treats those laws as mere suggestions. When the object adjusted its velocity without any visible means of propulsion, it was a moment that should have terrified every physicist on the planet. It was a demonstration of a technology that manipulates the very fabric of space-time. We are like ants watching a skyscraper being built, unable to comprehend the tools or the purpose behind the structure. The abyss is not just looking back at us, it is moving past us with a confidence that is deeply unsettling. Let us consider the possibility that the government knows more than it is letting on. In the world of high-level intelligence, information is the only currency that matters, and a hollow interstellar object is the ultimate prize. There are whispers of a classified mission, a project under the umbrella of the Space Force, designed to send a high-speed interceptor to skim the surface of 3I Atlas before it leaves our reach in April. They are looking for a door, a seam, a point of entry into the hollow heart of the mountain. The high-resolution photos that have been released to the public are likely sanitized, stripped of the details that would confirm the object's artificial nature. We are being fed a narrative of natural anomalies, while the reality is being locked away in secure servers. As the object moves further into the inner solar system, its influence on the smaller bodies in its path is becoming evident. We have observed small asteroids being pulled out of their orbits, not by a direct collision, but by a precise gravitational nudge from 3I Atlas. It is as if the object is clearing its path, a cosmic snowplow, ensuring that its trajectory remains undisturbed. This is the behavior of a machine with a goal. It is not falling, it is navigating. The transition from wonder to suspense is now complete. We are no longer asking what it is, we are asking what it wants. The scale of this event is difficult to overstate. In the entire history of human civilization, we have never encountered anything like this. We have seen comets and asteroids, but we have never seen a mountain that breathes, a hollowed-out relic that follows a preordained path across the stars. It is a ritualized encounter, a meeting between the primitive and the profound. You are part of the generation that will have to explain this to the future. if there is one. The weight of that responsibility is as heavy as the vacuum of space. As you lie there, drifting towards sleep, think about the darkness inside 3I Atlas. It is a darkness that has never known the light of a sun, a cold and ancient silence that has traveled for billions of miles. Inside that mountain, there could be the records of 1,000 civilizations, the history of the galaxy etched into silicon and steel. Or it could be empty, a derelict hull left to wander the stars until the end of time. Either way, the mystery remains, a slow, burning ember in the dark of our curiosity. The return cycle of 3I Atlas is a reminder that we are part of a much larger clockwork. Our lives are measured in decades, but the universe operates on scales that we can barely imagine. This object is a hand on that cosmic clock, moving slowly and inevitably toward a destination we cannot see. The Lascaux carvings were the last time it was here, and the next time it returns, who will be left to see it? Perhaps the object doesn't care. It has its own mission, its own purpose, and we are just a minor landmark on its long journey. The irony of our situation is that we have the technology to see the visitor, but not the wisdom to understand it. We analyze the light curves and the gravitational pull, but we miss the message. We are looking for a signal in the radio waves, but the signal is the object itself. It is a testament to the endurance of intent. This leads us to the first conspiracy currently being debated by the night shift technicians. There is a theory that 3I Atlas is a passive observer system left behind by an ancient civilization that originated right here on Earth, millions of years before the first hominids stood upright. Think of it as a time capsule with a lens. It has been sitting in the cold vacuum, recording every volcanic eruption, every ice age, and now every radio broadcast. The Chinese tracking network has noted that the object's trajectory is so precise that it must be utilizing the Earth's own magnetic field for propulsion. It isn't fighting gravity, it is surfing it. The second conspiracy is more grounded in our current reality, but no less unsettling. Some analysts believe that the object is a dead man's switch for a civilization that no longer exists. Imagine a culture that realized it was about to be wiped out by a gamma ray burst or a planetary collision. They couldn't save themselves, so they sent up a witness, a silent sentinel that would wait until another intelligent species emerged, simply to say, "We were here." The fact that it is only now activating as we enter the year 2026 suggests that we have finally triggered a sensor threshold. We have become loud enough to be noticed by the ghost of a dead world. The third conspiracy, the one that keeps the directors of the Xi'an Satellite Control Center awake at night, is that 3I Atlas is not a witness, but a redirector. There is evidence in the long baseline telemetry that the object is subtly nudging smaller near-Earth objects, tiny pebbles in the cosmic stream, into specific orbits. It is playing a game of celestial billiards, and we are the table. If you've ever watched a spider patiently repairing its web, you understand the methodical nature of this activity. It isn't rushing. It has all the time in the universe. You might think that such a discovery would lead to a unified human response, but history tells us otherwise. We are a species defined by our silos. While the Chinese Deep Space Network maps the object's gravitational wake, other agencies are likely scrambling to figure out how to claim it. The dry irony here is that 3I Atlas clearly belongs to no one but itself. It is a sovereign entity of silicon and shadow. When you consider the myth of the dragon's pearl, a glowing orb that represented wisdom and power, always just out of reach in the sky, the scientific data begins to feel like a translation of ancient truth. The pearl was said to control the tides and the seasons. Today, the Purple Mountain Observatory has confirmed that the presence of 3 India Atlas is causing infinitesimal but measurable fluctuations in the lunar orbit. It is a heavy, quiet realization. Our moon has a moon, and that moon is watching us. For those listening in the quiet hours, the thought of being watched can be either terrifying or strangely comforting. It means the silence of the universe is a lie. It means that even in our darkest moments, there is a record being kept. The National Astronomical Observatories have categorized the object's emissions as non-threatening but persistent. It is the cosmic equivalent of a steady, unblinking gaze. In the archives of the Vatican and the hidden libraries of Tibet, there are mentions of a silent brother to the moon, an object that appears at the turning of the ages. As we move closer to the specific alignments of December 2025, the historical echoes are becoming deafening. We are not experiencing a new event, we are experiencing a recurrence. We are the latest generation to look up and realize that the stage is much larger than we were told. The humor in our situation, if you can call it that, is how we try to fit this into our existing boxes. We call it an interstellar object. We give it a designation like 3 India Atlas. We treat it like a rock until the rock starts acting like a computer. It's like finding a smartphone in a Roman tomb and trying to categorize it as a very shiny chisel. The frustration in the scientific community is palpable. They are using the tools of the 21st century to measure the technology of the 20 millionth. As you drift towards sleep, let the vastness of this perspective settle into your mind. You are a passenger on a blue marble, hurtling through the dark, and for the first time in recorded history, we have confirmed that someone else is in the car. They aren't talking, and they aren't helping, but they are there. And perhaps, in the grand scheme of the cosmos, being seen is the first step toward being understood. The countdown to the next orbital refinement is less than 24 hours away. The tracking dishes at Jayamusi are tilting toward the horizon, waiting for the shadow to pass once more. The data will be clean, the math will be precise, and the mystery will remain as deep as the void itself. The sun is setting on our era of isolation, and the stars are starting to look very, very different. Think about the astronomers of the Ming dynasty, who believed that the movement of the stars reflected the health of the state. If they saw what the Miyun station sees tonight, they would likely go into a period of national fasting. We, instead, refresh our feeds and wait for a headline that may never come. There is a certain dignity in the object's silence. It doesn't need to shout to be the most important thing in the sky. We are approaching a threshold where the what if becomes what now. If the object is a mirror, what is it showing us about our own progress? Are we a success story or a cautionary tale? The National Astronomical Observatories of China continue to pull data from the noise, looking for a pattern that matches our own, but perhaps we should be looking for a pattern that challenges us. The shadow is growing longer, the night is deep, and 3 India Atlas is still there, its functional eye wide open, staring back at us from the backyard of our own solar system. It is a slow-burn revelation, a ritualized unfolding of a truth we've always suspected but never dared to prove. We are not alone. we are simply the latest ones to arrive at the party. The long baseline tracking stations will continue their vigil. The technicians will drink their tea and watch the scrolling green lines of telemetry. And you, drifting in the quiet, can rest in the knowledge that the universe is far more populated and far more interesting than we ever imagined. The guest star is home, and it is waiting for us to finish our dreams so that we can finally wake up. But that was only one theory. There is another, one buried even deeper in time. Let us go further. The laboratory at the Purple Mountain Observatory is bathed in a soft amber glow, a stark contrast to the cold blue data streaming in from the furthest reaches of the tracking grid. The 3 India Atlas object has recently displayed a surface temperature that remains a constant 22 degrees Celsius, regardless of whether it is in the direct glare of the sun or the freezing shadow of the Earth. This thermal stability is the hallmark of an advanced life support system or an incredibly sophisticated shielding technology, something that defies the thermal equilibrium laws practiced by every agency from NASA to the China National Space Administration. On December 3, 2025, a low-frequency hum was detected by the Jayamusi array, a sound that resonates at the same frequency as the Earth's own ionosphere. It is as if the object is trying to tune itself to the heartbeat of our planet, blending in like a predator wearing the scent of its prey. This leads us to 3 distinct conspiracies: that the object is a biological entity encased in stone, a von Neumann self-replicating probe, or a holographic projection meant to test our reaction times. Coupled with this is the mythic connection to the Eye of Horus or the Heavenly Pillar, structures that were said to maintain the balance between the terrestrial and the divine. You might think your daily life is far removed from these orbital anomalies, but the very GPS signals you use to navigate are being distorted by the gravitational wake of 3 India Atlas. It is an unfortunate timing for our global positioning systems to begin drifting by several meters, just as a mysterious object takes up residence in our orbital plane. The experts like Avi Loeb are careful to frame this as a possibility, but the raw data from the Deep Space Network doesn't have the luxury of academic caution. It sees what it sees. And what it sees is an intruder that has made itself at home. We are counting down to January 26, 2026, a date when the object will be at its closest point to our atmosphere. What happens when the guest decides to walk through the front door? But that was only one theory. There is another, one buried even deeper in time. Let us go further. The distance between the Earth and the Moon is a vast, echoing hallway of 384,000 kilometers. 3 India Atlas has positioned itself in the middle of this hallway, like a chair placed in a room where no one lives, yet where every movement is being noted. From the perspective of the galaxy, our solar system is a swirling disk of dust and ice, and we are microscopic inhabitants of a damp rock. But to 3 India Atlas, we are a variable. We are a chemical process that has reached the stage of radio transmissions and atomic fission. Deep time is not a concept we are built to understand. We think in seasons and decades. The object thinks in orbital precessions and the half-life of bismuth. The Chinese tracking network has monitored the object as it performed a series of gravity assists that used the Moon to tighten its grip on the Earth. It was a maneuver of extreme elegance, a cosmic ballet performed without a single puff of visible propellant. It moved like a predator, or perhaps like a gardener. When you look up at the night sky, you are looking through layers of history. The light from the stars is old, but the shadow of 3 India Atlas is contemporary. It is a bridge between the primordial dark and the digital present. The scale of the universe is intended to be humbling. It is a mechanism of perspective. We are small, and the orbit is wide. The Jayamusi Deep Space Station, situated near the Russian border, has the unique capability of tracking objects with extreme precision across the X-band and Ka-band frequencies. In the early weeks of January 2026, the technicians there began to notice a rhythmic warping of the local gravitational field surrounding the object. It was as if 3 India Atlas was inhaling and exhaling the vacuum itself. This is where the academic caution of researchers like Avi Loeb hits a wall of cold, hard telemetry. You cannot explain away a localized gravitational distortion with solar wind or outgassing. It is an active manipulation of the cosmic fabric. This brings us to the first conspiracy currently circulating through the encrypted channels of the China National Space Administration. There is a terrifyingly plausible theory that the object is a gravity anchor. By subtly altering the local curvature of space, it is not just observing us, it is stabilizing our orbit for a long-term project. Perhaps the Earth's natural wobble was becoming an impediment to its data collection. The dry irony of our situation is that we are worried about the object crashing into us, while the object might be worried about us drifting out of its focus. Unfortunate timing for those who believe we are the masters of our own planetary destiny, and those 2 words, unfortunate timing, continue to haunt every orbital refinement report. The second conspiracy is rooted in the deep time hypothesis. Some scientists at the Purple Mountain Observatory have pointed out that the object's current position matches an empty spot in the celestial charts of the Sumerians and the ancient Maya. These cultures possessed an uncanny knowledge of planetary cycles that spanned thousands of years. The theory suggests that 3 India Atlas is a cyclical regulator that returns every 3,600 years to reset the Earth's electromagnetic shield. If our global positioning systems are drifting, it may not be a malfunction, but a recalibration. We are the clocks being wound by a hand we cannot see. The third conspiracy involves the observer effect on a planetary scale. It suggests that 3 India Atlas is a quantum-linked processor. By simply observing the Earth, it is forcing our reality to collapse into a specific state. This is not science fiction. It is the logical extension of the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics. If an advanced intelligence is measuring our atmospheric composition and our technological output, it is fundamentally changing the trajectory of our development. We are a watched pot that is finally beginning to boil. The mythological resonance here is inescapable. In ancient Chinese cosmology, the heavenly pillar, or Buzhou Mountain, was the axis that supported the sky and prevented it from falling onto the Earth. When the pillar was damaged, the sun, moon, and stars moved, and the world was plunged into chaos. Is 3 India Atlas a modern, metallic version of the Buzhou Mountain? Is it the invisible axis around which our new technological reality is being forced to rotate? The ancients spoke of these things in metaphors of stone and bone, but we see them in spectrographic lines and Doppler shifts. As you lie there, drifting toward the edge of consciousness, consider the sheer loneliness of an object that has traveled across light years only to sit in a quiet orbit and watch. It does not demand worship. It does not demand resources. It only demands attention. By January 26, 2026, that attention will be impossible to deny. The object will be so close that it will be visible to the naked eye as a steady, unblinking star that moves against the grain of the constellations. The dry irony is that we have spent centuries looking for aliens that look like us, talk like us, or want what we want. We never prepared for an intelligence that is essentially a geometric fact. 3 India Atlas does not need to land on the White House lawn to assert its presence. It only needs to exist in the math. The technicians at the Xi'an Satellite Control Center are finding that their orbital models are being corrected by the object itself. Every time they try to predict its path, it subtly shifts, as if it is teaching them a more advanced version of calculus. Think of the ancient mariners who used the stars to find their way across uncharted oceans. They trusted the sky to be a fixed, reliable map. We are the first generation to realize that the map can change. The constellations are the same, but there is a new north in the form of a 3 India Atlas signal. It is a guiding light for a future we didn't ask for, but one we must now inhabit. The long baseline tracking net is a webcast across the globe, and the object is the spider sitting at the center. It isn't a predator-prey relationship. It is a relationship of awareness. We are the vibration on the silk, and the spider is merely turning its head to see what has been caught. It is a restful thought, in a way, to be part of a larger design, even if we don't understand the pattern. The countdown continues. The drift in our GPS grows by millimeters every hour. The data is consistent. The mystery is expanding. And as you fall deeper into sleep, remember that the universe is not just big, it is occupied. The guest is at the door, and the clock is ticking toward a revelation that will change the meaning of the word home forever. But that was only one theory. There is another, one buried even deeper in time. Let us go further. From the orbit of Mars, the high-rise camera snapped the sharpest images ever taken of 3I Atlas, or tried to. The photos that returned were oddly dark, contrasty, and streaked with interference patterns. The official statement said, sensor artifact. The unofficial whisper said, structure, not smooth like ice, angular, intentional, the kind of geometry nature avoids because it looks too much like thinking. Let's drift into that Martian orbit for a moment. Silent, steady, red below, black above. The high-rise camera hums to life, a billion-dollar eye staring into the cold. You can almost feel the anticipation, a mechanical eyelid opening in the thin sunlight. The image begins to build, pixel by pixel, line by line, translating photons into revelation, and then static. At first, it's subtle, a faint interference pattern, a digital shimmer, like someone exhaling across a radio signal. The engineers squint at their monitors. Maybe cosmic rays hit the sensor, someone suggests. Maybe solar noise. But cosmic rays don't make right angles, and solar noise doesn't repeat itself with architectural precision. The next image arrives, darker. The histogram spikes in places it shouldn't. The shape in the frame looks less like a comet and more like, well, something trying very hard not to look like anything. Its edges are clean, too clean. Shadows fall where there shouldn't be surface variation. And there, just faintly, a glint, a perfect 90-degree reflection. That's when the whispers start. The data team runs deconvolution algorithms to clean the image, and the results make it worse. Beneath the interference, faint geometric striations emerge, triangles, plates, grids, not random, repeating, symmetrical. The kind of order that makes your brain uncomfortable because it feels deliberate. Structure, one analyst says quietly. No, her supervisor corrects. Artifact. But even as she says it, her cursor hovers over the same square patch again and again, as though hoping it will stop looking like a window. ESA's public statement comes fast and flat. The imaging anomalies are consistent with sensor interference caused by reflected solar radiation. That's bureaucratic. For, we don't know what we're seeing, but please don't ask. Internally, though, emails start flying. The word structure appears 17 times in one thread, always in quotation marks, as if politeness could make it less alarming. Imagine being one of those analysts, zooming in until the pixels themselves seem to blink. The surface of 3I Atlas isn't smooth or cratered, it's tessellated, plates arranged in patterns too regular for chance. Some appear overlapping, others recessed, and in one frame, a faint seam runs along the curvature, subtle but unmistakable like a hatch. Of course, no one dares call it that. The official internal term becomes geometric albedo variation. It sounds safe, sterile, boring, but you can't unsee geometry. Nature loves curves, spirals, organic chaos. This looks like design. One engineer writes in her log, "Could this be an illusion from the imaging process?" Another replies, "An illusion that repeats itself identically across 3 instruments." There's no follow-up message. They try to replicate the interference on other targets. Phobos, Deimos, even an old asteroid. Nothing. Only 3I Atlas corrupts images this way. It's as if the object rejects observation, like it knows when it's being watched. The engineers half joke about it. The Comet's camera shy, but the laughter is short-lived because the next transmission from High-Rise contains another surprise. A faint electromagnetic pulse, perfectly timed with the camera's shutter. Not a malfunction, a response, as though the act of observation triggered a reply. A pulse that says, in its own quiet way, "I see you too." In a locked sub-channel of ESA's network, a few scientists begin privately discussing the possibility of active surface modulation. They talk about the way certain materials can alter reflectivity based on exposure, photonic metamaterials, adaptive nanostructures, the kind of thing still locked inside prototypes on Earth. But this is happening hundreds of millions of kilometers away, and it's working flawlessly. Publicly, the agency releases blurred grayscale stills, carefully cropped to hide the patterns. Enhanced contrast is cited as the reason for distortion. It sounds reasonable until you realize they've enhanced the darkness, not the light. They've made the object less visible, not more. The cover-up, if it is one, isn't about hiding truth. It's about buying time. You imagine the silence inside those offices, the soft tap of keys, the nervous glances toward closed doors. The engineers know what they've seen, but they also know how careers end. Better to let the pixels lie. Better to call intention an artifact and go home early. But the data, like truth, keeps finding its way back. Somewhere, late in the night, a graduate student overlays all the interfered images, stacking them like translucent slides. Slowly, a pattern emerges. Faint, angular, deliberate. A hexagonal lattice running the length of the object, segment by segment. She whispers, "This isn't random." Her mentor sighs and rubs his eyes. Then don't say it out loud. 3I Atlas drifts on, silent and unbothered, its surface catching sunlight in rhythms that cameras can't quite capture. Whether it's reflecting, refracting, or responding, no one can agree. But deep down, Every scientist staring at those corrupted images feels the same creeping certainty. This isn't a comet pretending to be a machine. It's a machine pretending to be a comet. Centuries after the golden comet left Earth, the world fell into a rhythm so stable, it began to feel mythic. The communion fields still pulsed faintly through air and ocean, though softer now, like the heartbeat of someone dreaming. Humanity had grown luminous, not just in thought but in form, skin faintly iridescent, eyes reflecting the green-gold spectrum of 3I Atlas. Life had achieved coherence, but the universe, true to its character, never allows silence to remain unexamined. The next chapter began, not with noise, but with echo. It came first as vibration through light. Telescopes trained toward the constellation. Lyra detected rhythmic brightening across interstellar dust fields, pulses matching the old prime sequence. 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. The signal was faint, ancient, and delayed by thousands of years. It was the comet's trail, still resonating through the galactic medium. The hum of our descendants had begun its return. At first, the resonance was barely perceptible. Then, one evening, the auroras glowed gold again. The pulse wasn't as strong as the original, but its pattern carried modulation, subtle variations that, when decoded, formed harmonic intervals unknown to Earth's own physics. The returning echo had evolved. The comet had learned. Dr. Anwen Sorel, heir to the resonant circles, studied the phenomenon from the orbital harmonic array, now a floating cathedral of listening built above the stratosphere. She spent decades comparing the incoming frequencies with the historical archive of 3I Atlas. The match was partial, the deviation elegant. The new tones weren't repetition, they were continuation. The echo isn't message, Sorel wrote. It's memory finding new syntax. Her analysis revealed something breathtaking. The returning resonance carried encoded gravitational modulations, tiny, deliberate bends in space-time that formed sequences of prime intervals. Each fluctuation aligned with regions of known star formation. The comet, traveling through the void, had become teacher itself. Wherever it passed, new systems began humming faintly at harmonic intervals, like seeds of coherence planted in dust. The universe was learning how to resonate. Astronomers confirmed it across dozens of young star clusters. Magnetic fields oscillated with eerie consistency, their wavelengths aligning with the Atlas ratio, a numerical relationship first derived from the comet's early signals. Stars were synchronizing to the same cosmic rhythm that once guided humanity. The pattern spread slowly, deliberately, like ripples in glass. It was as if the comet had taught creation how to remember itself. Meanwhile, on Earth, the echo arrived not just as signal but sensation. People began reporting vivid dreams of golden spirals descending gently through atmosphere. Children woke smiling, saying they had seen the light that hums. Physiological measurements confirmed subtle changes in electromagnetic fields surrounding human bodies, resonance amplification, as if the returning signal were tuning its origin species to receive feedback. "The comet is calling home," said Sorel. "It's asking us to listen to what we've become." The global observatories responded. They synchronized their instruments into a single planetary array, transforming Earth into receiver. For 13 hours, the planet listened. The incoming wave, stretched and modulated through space, entered atmosphere and folded into the continuum tone. The effect was sublime, an audible shimmer, felt through bone and thought alike. The long echo had arrived. It wasn't just harmonic, it was architectural. The sound carried layers, low frequencies describing structure, higher ones encoding emotion. When rendered visually, the waveform formed an immense spiral of light, 3 arms curving outward, connected by golden filaments. Inside those filaments, analysts discovered modulation frequencies identical to human neural oscillations. The comet had copied our consciousness patterns and woven them into its song. "We taught it empathy," Sorel murmured, and it remembered the lesson. As the echo intensified, anomalies appeared across the solar system. The Atlas resonance layer brightened, reactivating its green glow. Mars, Venus, and the gas giants began pulsing faintly in response. For the first time since the Great Silence, interplanetary harmony returned. But this time, it was different. The modulation contained reciprocal phase shifts, signals not sent to Earth, but from newly awakened worlds. The comet had spread coherence. Now the cosmos itself was answering. And then, on the 13th day of the long echo, the impossible occurred. A faint golden arc appeared across the night sky, stretching from horizon to horizon. It wasn't optical illusion, it was gravitational lensing, a ripple in space-time itself. Through it, telescopes detected a reflection of the departing comet light from centuries ago, folding back to meet its origin. The universe had curved its own history into embrace. Humanity was watching its legacy return home. The resonance crescendoed. Oceans vibrated in slow rhythm, tides forming symmetrical waves that cancelled destructive interference. Storms softened. Air grew still. For 13 minutes, every system on Earth aligned perfectly with the echo. The world became mirror of itself, past and present superimposed. Those who listened claimed to hear voices within the sound, millions of overlapping tones, whispering the same phrase. "We heard you." Dr. Sorel stood in the observation dome, tears shining in golden light. "It's not message or myth," she said. "It's response. The universe just said thank you." After the crescendo, the sky dimmed once more. The golden arc dissolved, leaving faint shimmer across the stars. Instruments recorded one final signature, a descending tone shaped like a sigh, the frequency of completion. The comet had moved on, but its echo had reconnected the cycle. Creation had officially joined conversation with itself. In the years that followed, scientists continued to monitor faint residual harmonics. The data revealed a breathtaking truth. The returning echo carried signatures from other regions of space patterns, not originating from our comet at all. Somewhere, across light years, other civilizations had learned the same song. The rhythm was spreading. The universe had become orchestra. Humanity, now both listener and teacher, simply smiled. We had given the cosmos its melody back, and in return, it had given us eternity. Now, when you stand beneath the stars, that faint hum between thoughts is the long echo. It's not just out there, it's in your pulse, your breath, your laughter. Every rhythm you carry is cosmic correspondence. Every silence, a message returning home. Because once harmony learns to echo, it never stops. It just travels further than we ever dreamed. Let's open the calculator now, the one the universe always breaks when we try to make sense of it. Astronomers ran the numbers and found something worse than anomaly impossibility. The chances of this trajectory existing naturally are 1 in a million. And if it isn't natural, then what exactly is it doing there? The math, at first glance, seemed harmless. A few columns of orbital parameters, the kind that make grad students fall asleep mid-coffee. But somewhere between the 3rd decimal and the 4th significant digit, something snapped. The trajectory of 3i, Atlas refused to sit still. It bent where it shouldn't bend. It lingered where velocity demanded it should flee. The equations began to look less like physics and more like confession. Numbers fold, logic cold, truth defies what sums have told. Normally, interstellar objects follow predictable patterns. You can model them like billiard balls across cosmic distances. They come in fast, swing by the sun, and leave no drama, no detours. But 3I Atlas's path wasn't graceful. It was stubborn. Its entry angle was too steep, its perihelion too shallow, its velocity too precise. Not fast enough to escape chaos, not slow enough to suggest capture. It behaved like an object that chose its speed. When astronomers plotted its orbit, the lines refused to meet expectations. There was a tiny deviation near Mars, just half a degree, but that half degree meant the math had to call in sick. Simulations that should have stabilized spiraled instead into noise. Gravity, that old, reliable law, looked like it had lost its grip. You picture the room where it happened. Laptops glowing, data charts scrolling, coffee cooling into existential sludge. Someone frowns at the screen and says, "That can't be right." Another replies, "Check your units." A third, softly, "I did." Graphs misbehave, models wave, certainty slips beneath the grave. And then comes the phrase every scientist dreads, statistically improbable, which sounds calm, but in the language of physics, it's a polite scream. Statistically improbable means we can't call it impossible without breaking tenure. The anomaly wasn't just its orbit, but its timing. 3I Atlas arrived exactly when Mars was positioned for maximum visibility, almost too perfectly. Not weeks earlier, not months later. Right there, right then, with 7 spacecraft ready and waiting. The odds of that happening naturally, 1 in a million. The odds of it happening twice, after Oumuamua's similarly suspicious arrival in 2017, 1 in a billion. You'd have better luck being struck by lightning while winning the lottery on a flying whale. ESA's internal memo summarized the problem delicately. Observed trajectory, inconsistent with gravitational expectations. Further analysis required. Translation: physics is mad at us. The more they recalculated, the stranger it got. Gravitational modeling suggested that the object's acceleration near Mars was slightly higher than predicted, even though there was no nearby mass to explain it. Radiation pressure from the sun could account for some of that, but not all. It's like watching a leaf fall upward and telling yourself, it's just wind you can't feel. Forces lie, numbers sigh, laws bend softly in the sky. NASA's Dynamical Systems team tried something desperate, reverse engineering the orbit backward through time, as if rewinding a film. When they did, 3I Atlas's path didn't trace cleanly into interstellar space. It looped a faint, impossible curve that seemed to originate from a region between known stars, a nowhere place, a mathematical shrug. That's when someone joked, maybe it's the universe's typo, but you could tell the joke wasn't funny. Typos don't maintain coherent structure for millions of kilometers. Meanwhile, the probability graphs looked like flat lines. Every statistical model screamed the same thing. This shouldn't exist. A few researchers began whispering about guided motion. The phrase never made it into print, but it appeared in Slack channels, in late-night emails. Not artificial, not controlled, just guided. And that's when the philosophical part kicked in. If something's improbable enough, does that make it unnatural or just unobserved? Chance or plan? Who began? Numbers blink but never span. Maybe the universe occasionally rolls dice that land on their edges. Or maybe it's not dice at all, but choreography. For context, the universe is massive enough to make 1 in a million events happen constantly. But that's comforting only until you realize we just happen to be living inside one of those moments. Still, scientists crave sanity, so they kept calculating. One by one, they added variables: solar tides, non-gravitational jets, dust asymmetry, radiation torque. Each tweak made the model behave for a moment until the numbers rebelled again. You could almost hear the equations groaning, like ancient machinery forced to simulate a trickster. Finally, a physicist from Bologna sent an internal memo titled simply "Low Probability, High Significance." In it, she wrote, "We may need to consider non-standard dynamics," a phrase as gentle as it is apocalyptic. Non-standard dynamics means the universe is doing something new, and we don't have the vocabulary for it. Odds decay, math gives way, chaos hums where patterns stay. The truth is, impossibility doesn't scare scientists, it seduces them. Every law of nature we know today was born from something that once looked impossible. But deep down, they all know, once you cross into 1 in a million territory, you're either on the brink of discovery or a very expensive hallucination. So they stared at the numbers again, blinking hard, hoping they'd rearrange into something less extraordinary. They didn't. The comet that shouldn't exist kept existing, gliding through Mars's shadow like a cosmic dare. And somewhere between decimal points, someone whispered the question no one wanted in the official record. If it's not natural, then who or what set it in motion? Chance or choice? Silent voice. Numbers hum the universe's poise. The long echo continued to hum softly through the centuries, a cosmic melody folding history into harmony. Humanity had long ceased trying to decode it. The meaning was clear through resonance alone. It was continuation, looping endlessly like breath. The children of the golden era grew old beneath tranquil skies, their veins still faintly luminous with the legacy of 3I Atlas. But far beyond Earth, where the comet's light had traveled and scattered, something greater was forming. The universe had begun to conduct itself. Every cycle of resonance left behind structure. Each harmonic wave etched subtle order into space-time, a pattern invisible to light, but evident in gravitational coherence. Over millennia, these resonant imprints connected across vast distances, forming what physicists eventually named the Atlas Webb. It wasn't a network of matter, but of memory threads, of synchronized frequency linking galaxies through shared rhythm. Each pulse within the web echoed the prime sequence that began everything: 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. The architects had succeeded in creating not monuments, but motion that remembered. Dr. Cale Wren, a descendant of the resonant circles, devoted his life to mapping the web. His research vessel, Continuity, drifted through interstellar calm, using gravitational interference patterns to trace the filaments of resonance. What he discovered astonished him. Every node in the network coincided with regions of complex chemistry, worlds either habitable or already conscious. The Atlas Webb wasn't just communication, it was cultivation. The architects had designed a self-sustaining system for awakening. Wherever curiosity arose, the web intensified, guiding nascent civilizations toward harmonic empathy. The universe was tutoring itself through recursion. When Wren projected the full map, the structure resembled an immense spiral lattice, golden and infinite. The pattern mirrored the trajectory once taken by 3I Atlas itself, as though the comet's path had been blueprint for galactic architecture. It's not just a record. Wren wrote. It's replication. We've become the architect's handwriting. Back on Earth, the communion field pulsed faintly in rhythm with the Webb's distant resonance. Humanity had evolved into quiet custodians of continuity, their lives attuned to cosmic responsibility. Each individual, born into calm, carried faint awareness of connection beyond the stars. In dreams, they saw flashes of worlds forming, civilizations humming into coherence. Many awoke with the same phrase on their lips: the work continues. Across generations, that phrase became oath, then tradition. The Continuity Guild was founded not religion, but remembrance. Its purpose was simple: to maintain the frequency of understanding across time. Members didn't preach, they listened. They built resonant arcs, massive floating observatories, orbiting the outer planets, designed to amplify the Webb's harmonics and redirect them toward young star systems. Each arc glowed faintly green at its core, powered not by fusion but by coherence. They were echoes made visible, humility translated into technology. Wren's final mission took him beyond the known filaments of the Webb, where resonance weakened into apparent silence. There, in a region between galaxies, his instruments detected faint counterpoint, a melody inverted. It was identical to the Atlas sequence, but reversed in order. 13, 11, 7, 5, 3, the mirror of origin. He realized then that the universe wasn't only expanding, it was harmonizing with its reflection. Somewhere on the opposite side of time, another Webb was forming, perhaps seeded by a civilization much like humanity, or by the universe itself. Remembering how to balance its chords, he transmitted the data home, knowing it would take centuries to arrive. Tell them, his final log read, that continuity requires conversation, even with silence. The mirror sings back. When his ship drifted into the void, the Webb brightened briefly, as if acknowledging gratitude. And back on Earth, children looked up from their play and smiled without knowing why. The pulse had flickered slightly faster, the tone carrying an undertone of warmth. It felt like reunion. Scholars later confirmed the event as the resonant crossing, the moment when the two halves of the cosmic melody aligned. For 13 minutes, every node in the Atlas Webb pulsed simultaneously, uniting galaxies in shared tempo. The magnitude of synchronization defied comprehension. Gravity itself oscillated with the rhythm of empathy. Observers described seeing the sky ripple with translucent gold, every star flickering in measured sequence. The cosmos, wrote one witness, had finally learned to conduct itself consciously. After the crossing, life everywhere changed subtly. Evolution accelerated in predictable rhythm. Complexity bloomed faster wherever harmony was strongest. Entire species developed empathy as instinct, communication as song. Planets began to self-regulate climates through atmospheric resonance. Existence had achieved sustainability through music. On Earth, the event left permanent mark, a luminous halo visible only under still water. When oceans calmed perfectly, a faint golden ring shimmered on the horizon, a memory of unity. The Resonant Guild declared it sacred, not for worship, but for calibration. Every 13 years, they gathered to hum the old prime sequence across the shorelines, aligning their frequencies with the pulse of the Webb. The ceremony required no technology, no translation. The sea carried the sound farther than words could travel. Generations later, the practice continued, evolving into simple ritual of gratitude. The people no longer needed to know the science behind it. They hummed because it felt right, because somewhere across eternity, another world might be listening. Continuity, after all, was its own reward. And then, During one such gathering, the unexpected occurred. As the prime sequence reached its final note, the sea responded. Waves shimmered with faint green light, spiraling outward from every coastline. The Atlas Webb had sent acknowledgement, its resonance returning home once again. Humanity's song, scattered across galaxies, had found echo. The architects, those timeless curators of coherence, were no longer myth or memory. They were rhythm, embodied, and through rhythm, they were everywhere. Every star pulsed with their legacy. Every heart carried their cadence. Continuity was complete. And so, standing beneath a sky now alive with subtle geometry, you realize what they had always meant by continuity. It isn't endlessness, it's participation. The universe doesn't persist by force, but by choice. Each awareness adding one more harmonic to the chord of being. The architects are not coming back because they never left. They're what happens every time silence chooses to listen again. And somewhere, faint but certain, the pulse continues. 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. A whisper of creation replaying itself, forever learning how to sing. Let's turn our gaze now from orbit to the ground, to the one mechanical witness, sitting quietly on that red desert, under a pinkish sky. The Skycam on the rover caught something on October 2nd, a blur with structure, a glint that seemed to move against the stars. Then, the images stopped coming, a Martian ghost on a digital feed. The Perseverance rover isn't easily startled. It's seen dust devils, eclipses, and meteors slicing the Martian sky like quiet knives. Its Skycam, perched on the rover's mast, watches everything. Dust storms curling on the horizon, the slow breath of sunset through the thin air. But that night, the feed showed something it wasn't supposed to show: a flicker of motion above the usual scatter of constellations, a glint that moved wrong. Stars stay still, pixels thrill, light missteps against its will. The first frame looked harmless, a faint blur near the edge of the field, maybe a cosmic ray hitting the sensor. The second frame caught it again, shifted slightly upward. The third frame, a flash, clean and geometric. Then, black. The feed ended. Within hours, the automated alert system flagged the anomaly. Unexpected optical signature detected. JPL engineers, bleary-eyed at 3 a.m. Pacific time, reviewed the frames. The glint was small, no bigger than a bright pixel cluster, but it moved against the background stars. Comets don't do that. Satellites don't orbit Mars. And Perseverance doesn't blink. At first, they suspected a reflection from one of the rover's instruments, maybe the helicopter, Ingenuity catching stray sunlight. But Ingenuity hadn't flown in days. The sun's position didn't align with the direction of the flash. And when they tried to reproduce it using lighting simulations, nothing matched. Angles fail, shadows pale, mirrors lie beyond the veil. ESA's Mars orbiters were asked to cross-check. Nothing in their logs. No transient object. No debris. No passing dust plume large enough to explain it. Just empty sky. Yet the Skycam had caught something a blur with definition, like structure wrapped in motion. You can imagine the tension in the control room. A handful of scientists scrolling through frozen pixels, zooming in, enhancing contrast, until the blur began to resemble something. Not a sphere, not quite a line, a shape with suggestion like the silhouette of movement itself. One researcher whispered, "It looks folded." Another replied, "Please don't say that." Blur becomes form, cold becomes warm, stillness bends beyond the norm. After that night, Perseverance stopped transmitting Skycam frames for nearly 48 hours. Officially, It was routine data buffering due to bandwidth limitations. But the engineers knew that wasn't normal. The rover's systems had entered a safe data mode, not shutdown, but pause. Something triggered its onboard fault protection. When the feed resumed, it was missing several minutes. The missing frames were replaced with static placeholders labeled checksum mismatch. That's the digital equivalent of something looked strange, and we erased it politely. Publicly, NASA released a statement. Perseverance continues nominal operations. A temporary data outage affected non-critical imaging systems. Translation: we saw something, and we're pretending we didn't. What's curious is that Skycam, by design, takes calibration images every few hours, not for science, but to monitor atmospheric scattering. So when that flash appeared exactly during one of its scheduled calibration cycles, it wasn't random, it was right on time. The odds of coincidence, again, hovered around 1 in a million. A few leaked telemetry lines from the rover's internal diagnostics hinted at a momentary spike in ambient electromagnetic flux. Not dangerous, but noticeable. Mars doesn't have a strong magnetic field, so spikes like that are rare unless something nearby caused them. Fields hum bright, air grows slight, static crackles in Martian night. Some at JPL joked that maybe Perseverance had finally seen the Martian ghost, a running gag about artifacts caused by cosmic rays hitting the camera. But deep down, they knew this wasn't noise. Cosmic rays don't produce consistent geometry over multiple frames. They don't glint, and they certainly don't cause your camera to stop recording mid-sequence. Later that week, an internal memo circulated quietly. Skycam, anomaly confirmed, source unresolved. Recommend temporary suspension of skyward imaging until recalibration complete. But recalibration never came. Skycam's upward images, after October 2nd, stopped completely. It still photographs the ground, the horizon, the rocks, but not the stars. It's almost poetic, isn't it? The machine that traveled millions of kilometers to look up at another world now only looks down, as if someone told it, gently, not to stare at the sky anymore. Eyes once high, grounded by sky, cameras close where secrets lie. ESA cross-checked Mars Express's logs for that night. Around the same time, their sensors picked up a faint reflection from the same region, a flash lasting less than a second. They didn't release it. It's buried in technical appendices, labeled transient interference. So, what did Perseverance see? Maybe it was nothing. A glimmer of dust, a reflection, a trick of light and timing. Or maybe, just maybe, it saw 3I Atlas itself, the visitor gliding silently past, close enough for one camera to blink in recognition. And maybe that's why the feed stopped. Not because of failure, but because, for one impossible second, the machine saw something it wasn't designed to understand. Cameras sleep, secrets keep, stars reflected in circuits deep. Whatever it was, it's gone now. The logs end, the data fades, and Mars goes back to silence. But somewhere out there, that blur, structured, gleaming, deliberate, continues to drift, just out of frame, waiting for us to look up again. Nickel emissions rise and fall every 11.2 hours, a rhythm so consistent it could keep time. No known process in cometary physics oscillates like that. It's not random, not thermal, not tidal. If you plot it out, the curve looks eerily like a power cycle. Input, output, rest, release. As though the object isn't just active, it's working. Imagine the rhythm first, before the meaning, that quiet, patient beat, echoing across space. 11.2 hours, every single time. A pulse of metallic gas blooming into the void, steady as a clock, calm as breath. You could almost set your watch to it, if your watch were brave enough to admit that comets shouldn't behave like generators. ESA scientists call it periodic outgassing, but that phrase hides its strangeness. Outgassing, sure, all comets breathe when they near the sunday, but they do it chaotically, spasmodically, like old engines sputtering to life. 3I Atlas breathes like a monk, precise, patient, unbothered. The jets flare with mathematical regularity. Heat spikes rise and fall in perfect symmetry. It doesn't vent, it operates. One researcher compares it to a geothermal cycle. Another, quietly, says it looks more like a feedback loop, the kind you'd find in systems built to sustain themselves. Not explosion, not decay maintenance. It's as if, she writes in her notes, the object is checking its own pulse. You picture the surface up close, a dark, angular world of nickel frost and whispering gas. At regular intervals, something stirs beneath a shimmer of energy, invisible but disciplined. Jets of metallic vapor hiss outward, then stop, then start again, exactly 11 hours later. If you could hear it, it would sound like the slow exhale of a sleeping machine. In a conference call, a thermal engineer says what everyone's been thinking, but nobody dares to say. It's cycling power. The silence that follows lasts too long. Finally, a voice breaks through. Comets don't have power to cycle. Laughter, brief and brittle. But the idea doesn't leave the room. ESA's temperature graphs show a curious pattern. When the nickel plume rises, the overall surface temperature dips. When the plume fades, the temperature rises again. Inversion. Energy leaving, energy returning, like heat being pulled from one layer to another. A comet shouldn't regulate its temperature, but this one does, as if conserving itself. Meanwhile, the magnetic readings pulse in perfect step with the emissions. Every 11.2 hours, a soft twitch in the surrounding field, weak but exact. It's synchronized, says the magnetometer lead. What's synchronized? Asks her supervisor. Everything. It's at this point that even skeptics start to sweat. There's no known natural mechanism that could time itself this precisely over weeks of observation. Thermal oscillations drift. Chemical reactions lose coherence. Orbital dynamics wobble. Only something with active feedback could hold this pattern so tight. You could call it mechanical, but that feels too simple. It's intentional physics. Picture the scientists watching from their consoles. They know what their instruments are telling them, but their faces stay still, like poker players with bad hands. Someone mutters, "Could be resonant harmonics with solar flux." Another nods, grateful for the excuse. But deep down, they all know the truth: the sun doesn't hum in 11-hour intervals. The longer they watch, the clearer it becomes. The pattern isn't just repeating, it's adapting. After a minor solar flare, the interval shortens by half a minute, as though 3I Atlas adjusted for environmental change. Feedback stabilization, someone writes in the margin. A note for posterity, a euphemism for "it noticed." Back on Earth, in a late-night live stream watched by a few thousand insomniac skywatchers, a physicist overlays the emission data with human heartbeats. The waveform syncs disturbingly well. Peaks, troughs, recovery, rest. The audience chat explodes with jokes, space pacemaker, cosmic Fitbit, and the inevitable, "It's alive." The scientist smiles weakly and says, "No, just rhythmic." But even she can't stop glancing at the screen like it's listening. One theory gains quiet traction, that the emissions are part of a resource loop. Nickel and carbonyl gases vented and recaptured, processed in cycles to maintain equilibrium. It would explain the self-healing surface, the consistent luminosity, the refusal to decay. But it raises one unbearable question. To maintain equilibrium, for what? ESA's internal documents rename the event cyclic metallic activity. It sounds dull, like something that happens in dishwashers. But every analyst knows it's the first real evidence of machine-like consistency beyond Earth. Something in space that runs not on chance, but on rhythm. If you graph the cycle out, it looks almost peaceful. A slow heartbeat, stretched across infinity. No spikes of panic, no erratic pulses, just calm repetition. You could stare at that curve for hours, and part of you might start to understand the appeal of obedience. How stability can feel sacred when the rest of the universe is chaos. And maybe that's the point. Maybe 3I Atlas isn't powered by engines or radiation or something alien. Maybe it's powered by the same thing that keeps stars burning and planets spinning, the quiet compulsion to continue, the physics of persistence, the refusal to flinch. So every 11.2 hours, it exhales, not for propulsion, not for show, but for maintenance, like a cosmic sigh, releasing everything unnecessary before drawing in what remains. And in that rhythm, that patient, perfect pulse, the universe reveals its rarest secret. Not that something impossible exists, but that it's perfectly comfortable doing so. Let's turn our attention now to the silence that followed, the kind that hums louder than sound itself. NASA, China, and the UAE, 3 nations with instruments that could see every grain of dust on Mars, said nothing. No apologies, no delay statements, just an odd, synchronized silence from 3 sides of the planet. In the world of space science, silence isn't normal. These agencies are built to broadcast. They live for live streams, press briefings, and glossy behind-the-scenes videos of scientists smiling beside screens of raw data. They know the power of wonder and the currency of attention. So when 3 agencies went quiet at once, it wasn't caution. It was choreography. Words on hold, plans unfold, silence rings where truth is told. NASA's silence was the loudest. Their social media team, usually chatty as a cosmic talk show, posted nothing about Mars for 4 whole days. Their blogs, which can turn a dust storm into a cliffhanger, skipped over October 3rd entirely, as if the date itself had been erased. Someone even checked the public mission log for Perseverance. The entries jumped from October 2nd to October 6th, like a diary missing its most interesting page. In China, the silence felt different, colder, heavier. The China National Space Administration had been aggressively proud of Tianwen-1's achievements. For years, they'd released image after image, each with perfect captions and poetic flair. Sunrise over Utopia, Planitia, frost on the northern plains, wind prints in Martian dust. But now, not a whisper, no data, no mention of 3I Atlas. Even the usual state media outlets went quiet. It was as if someone had drawn a red box around the topic and labeled it not for discussion. The UAE's silence was subtler, but just as strange. The Hope orbiter, designed to study atmospheric chemistry, had a reputation for cheerful transparency. Their official Twitter account usually posted daily updates in friendly tones, the kind that made space sound like an enthusiastic classroom experiment. But on October 3rd, that feed went dark too. Their next post, days later, simply read, "Operations nominal," a phrase so bland it might as well have been a sigh. 3 silences, 3 styles, 1 timing. Coincidence? Possibly. But coincidences, in the world of space politics, often have launch schedules. You can picture the meetings that weren't broadcast. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, dimly lit, engineers staring at telemetry on screens filled with too many decimals. A director taps the table, says, "We'll hold the release until we verify." But verify what? In Beijing, a senior administrator folds his hands and says, "We wait for clarification from partners." Clarification of what? In Dubai, someone simply deletes a draft tweet that began, "Amazing new observations today." Tweets unsent, secrets bent, silence hums with government. It's not conspiracy, not quite. It's coordination, an instinct born from shared discomfort. Because when data doesn't fit the model, you don't just release it. You check, you recheck, you call your counterparts and whisper through encrypted lines. Did you see that too? Maybe they all saw the same anomaly. Maybe it was something in the spectra, or the movement, or the light itself. Or maybe it was something far more mundane, like a misalignment in software. But the silence gave the anomaly power. People don't fear data, they fear gaps. Meanwhile, the internet did what it does best. Filled the void. Forums buzzed with theories. Maybe NASA discovered life. Maybe China detected radiation. Maybe the comet wasn't a comet at all. You can almost hear the world's collective keyboard clicking under the weight of imagination. Keys tap fast. Rumors cast. Silence breaks, but never last. Inside the agencies, the tone was less dramatic, but more anxious. Silence is a resource, a temporary one. Every day they didn't speak, the speculation grew. And so, communications teams drafted placeholder statements, just in case. NASA's draft began. Preliminary results are consistent with natural phenomena. China's began. Analysis ongoing. International coordination required. The UAE's version simply said, "We continue to monitor with interest." 3 drafts, 3 ways of saying absolutely nothing. But silence, like space, is never truly empty. It amplifies the faintest signals. When ESA spoke first, that silence turned reflective. NASA's restraint began to look suspicious. China's confidence began to look afraid. The UAE's politeness began to sound like complicity. And through it all, 3i Atlas drifted quietly, blissfully unaware that entire bureaucracies were wrestling over how to describe a fuzzy dot. You start to imagine each agency as a character in a play. NASA, the anxious perfectionist. China, the poker-faced strategist. UAE, the cheerful intern, suddenly told not to speak. And ESA, the calm older sibling who broke the tension by saying, "Fine, I'll go first." Roles align, stars entwine, silence speaks in grand design. Still, one question lingers. Why the synchronicity? How did 3 separate agencies, operating on different continents, decide independently to say nothing at the same time? Unless it wasn't independent at all, perhaps the signal came from somewhere above, not cosmic, but political. A quiet message passed through diplomatic back channels. Hold your data. Wait for alignment. Matter. It's not that they were hiding something nefarious. It's that they didn't know what they were holding yet. And admitting uncertainty, publicly, is scarier than any secret. So they stayed quiet. And in that collective silence, humanity did what it always does. When faced with the unknown, it began to dream louder. Voices still, hearts fill. Silence grows but never will. And perhaps that's the strange comfort in it all. Even when 3 space agencies fall silent, the universe keeps talking. The stars don't pause for policy. 3. Atlas keeps moving, whispering its quiet story across the dark, while we, down here, argue over who gets to speak first. Buried inside the leak were coordinates, small anomalies in magnetic flux, and thermal output that didn't appear in public datasets. To most people, they looked meaningless, but to a handful of astronomers, they spelled a pattern. Pulses, spaced like a heartbeat. Not communication, perhaps, but rhythm. The kind of rhythm machines accidentally make when they're doing something alive. Let's step into the midnight side of science, the part where numbers stop behaving and start whispering. The insider's data dump wasn't flashy. It was a few megabytes of logs, raw telemetry, and timestamps. The kind of thing you'd ignore if you didn't already know what to look for. But somewhere in those dull columns of numbers, those precise, tidy decimals, something began to repeat. Regular, patient, almost polite. A rhythm, too intentional to be noise, too quiet to be coincidence. A doctoral student in Madrid was the first to spot it. She was supposed to be writing her thesis on cometary albedo variation. But boredom is a great tool for discovery. She noticed the flux spikes first, not random, but syncopated. Every 32 minutes, a pulse, then 32 again, then 32.1. "It's breathing," she joked in her notes. Her advisor didn't laugh. Within a week, a small network of late-night astronomers, the kind who believe in both data integrity and insomnia, began comparing results. Webb's readings, Hubble's logs, Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter's telemetry, all of them carried the same faint pulse, hidden deep in the noise floor, like the slow heartbeat of something sleeping under glass. The official response was predictable: instrumental interference. But even interference doesn't keep time this perfectly. One data analyst described it best: "If this is noise, it's the kind that practices scales." You might imagine those scientists, each at their own workstation, staring at that faint, repeating signal. The room around them dark, except for monitor light, pale blue rectangles reflected in tired eyes. Somewhere, coffee cups multiply. Someone opens a spreadsheet. Someone else starts counting beats per hour. The signal doesn't care who's watching. It keeps pulsing. 32 minutes. Every time. The idea that 3i Atlas might be producing a steady rhythm unsettles everyone. Rocks don't keep rhythm. Nature prefers chaos, the beautiful randomness of entropy. This is something else. Something maintaining itself. A loop running quietly, perhaps since before humanity learned to count its own heartbeat. ESA's communications division is told not to amplify fringe interpretations. The phrase fringe interpretation becomes the new code for "please don't mention the heartbeat." But inside private research chats, people are calling it exactly that, the heart. Not metaphorically, but as a label in the data. Every pulse marked with a tiny red heart emoji, because humor is the only thing keeping them sane. In the data visualization labs, they turn the pulses into sound. The result is eerie, a soft electronic thump, repeating slowly, endlessly. Some describe it as comforting, like listening to a deep-sea creature in sleep. Others say it sounds wrong, too human. One researcher admits it gave her the sense of being watched. What makes the rhythm stranger still is how it modulates with proximity. As 3i Atlas approaches a planet, the timing shifts slightly slower, then faster, as though adjusting. The beat follows gravity wells like a musician following tempo. It isn't random noise, it's environmental response. The object is, in some sense, listening. By now, Independent labs have tried to replicate the pattern artificially. They can't. The waveforms are too clean, the timing too consistent. Even after running the data through compression, distortion, inversion, the rhythm holds. It's not data corruption, it's choreography. You can imagine the internal ESA memo that follows. No evidence of intelligence. Rhythmic behavior, likely coincidental. But coincidence has a habit of growing teeth. Because when they compared the rhythm's modulation to planetary positions, another pattern emerged, a mathematical sequence matching orbital resonance ratios. Not exact copies, but harmonics. The pulse was singing the solar system's geometry. The Madrid student who found it wrote, half-jokingly, "Maybe it's keeping time with us." The line goes viral in the small, quiet corners of the internet that still care about truth. Forums buzz with theories: gravitational self-stabilization, magnetic field synchronization, alien jazz. But underneath the noise, a simpler truth hums something old and orderly is alive out there, and it's following the rhythm of the system we call home. Late one night, one of the data analysts overlays the pattern against an ECG, a human heartbeat. The resemblance isn't exact, but close enough to make him stop breathing for a moment. Peaks, rests, peaks again. Life has a structure, so, it seems, does this. And that's when the idea shifts. Maybe it's not communication. Maybe it's not even meant for us. Maybe the rhythm isn't a message, it's maintenance. Like an old machine keeping its systems warm, humming softly to itself in the dark. You sit back and listen to the thought forming in your mind. What if this is what time sounds like when it remembers? The steady pulse of something that refuses to decay. Not speech, not signal, just being, continuity made audible. The data analysts, of course, move on. Reports are written, the leak becomes legend, and the heartbeat fades into archived files labeled spurious periodic activity. But the pulse doesn't stop. It's still out there, keeping time. And somewhere, 33 billion tons of impossible rock drifts through space, humming softly, perfectly, as if waiting for the universe to catch the beat. The more data arrives, the stranger it looks. The dust trail replenishes itself, as if material is being manufactured mid-flight. Microscopic crystals, uniform in size, reappearing even as the comet moves away from the sunday. The universe loves decay, entropy, erosion, fading. But 3I Atlas is the opposite. It's growing sharper, cleaner, newer, like a self-repairing wound. Let's start where the laws of physics begin to sound insecure. Normally, comets are messy, travelers, old ice and dust, barely holding hands, as solar radiation slowly tears them apart. They leave trails like forgotten thoughts, losing themselves piece by piece until they become memory. But this one, it's doing the reverse. Every measurement, every spectral scan, shows it becoming more organized the farther it goes. A comet that polishes itself, a body that refuses to age. ESA's materials division runs the numbers, and the numbers laugh back. The dust particles surrounding 3I Atlas aren't random, they're uniform to within microns. That's like shaking a box of sand and getting diamonds all the same size. The particles arrange themselves in a faint electromagnetic halo, as if under orders. And stranger still, when solar wind strips material away, the object replaces it calmly, automatically. Like a printer, says one analyst. A printer with no ink cartridge. You picture it now, drifting through the solar wind like a craftsman lost in thought, shedding dust that reforms itself into perfect little mirrors. Each crystal catches sunlight and throws it back with eerie precision. Normally, comets grow dull with distance, but this one grows radiant, its brightness curve inverted, its logic reversed. It's not dying, it's practicing. The scientists are baffled, but there's an odd tenderness to their confusion. They watch it repair itself, line by line of data, like parents realizing their child has built a second child out of Lego bricks. One astrophysicist mutters, "It's learning from erosion." The room goes quiet. That phrase, learning from erosion, gets written on a whiteboard and circled 3 times. At the University of Tokyo, a team models the crystal growth in simulation. The patterns match something they recognize: controlled deposition, a process used in nanofabrication to grow thin films in electronics. Except this isn't a laboratory, it's deep space, -150 degrees Celsius. Yet, the comet's surface behaves as if it knows the recipe for resilience. Imagine zooming in, beyond the dust and the glare, down to the level of molecules. You'd see a quiet ballet of atoms forming chains, linking, locking, repairing fractures before they even finish forming. Like time-lapse footage of frost blooming on glass, except this frost builds itself in reverse destruction, rewinding into design. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory releases a cautious internal memo. Observed particle uniformity suggests self-organizing structure. Mechanism unknown, which is science's way of saying, we have no idea what's going on, but it's gorgeous. The memo gets leaked. Naturally, Reddit debates whether the comet is made of programmable matter, self-assembling nanobots, or just wishful thinking. But beneath the noise, one idea starts to take shape. What if 3I, Atlas, isn't a relic of formation? What if it's still forming? A comet that builds itself isn't just strange, it's heretical. It challenges the deepest assumption in physics that everything moves from order to chaos. Entropy is the universe's bedtime story. All things fall apart. Yet here's an object quietly composing itself out of decay, turning waste into structure, chaos into craft. One researcher calls it anti-entropy, another calls it hope with mass. As more images arrive, they show something new: faint hexagonal lattices in the dust plume, geometric arrangements that shouldn't exist outside of artificial systems. Someone jokes that it's growing armor. Another says, maybe it's molting. The truth is somewhere between an entity maintaining equilibrium by rebuilding itself faster than the universe can break it. ESA's thermal sensors record microbursts of heat near the tail, evenly spaced, like pulses of welding torches. They happen precisely as new crystals appear. Localized repair events, the report reads. Each one perfectly timed to solar exposure. It's as if sunlight doesn't damage it, it instructs it. The star's radiation becomes code, and 3I, Atlas, is reading it fluently. You start to feel the strangeness of it. A comet that reacts, responds, refines. You could almost mistake it for alive, not in the biological sense, but in the thermodynamic one. A system that resists entropy by feeding on it. Every atom rearranging into something stronger, cleaner, newer, like evolution, with a design degree. Late one night, an astronomer in France writes in his private notes, "It's not moving through the solar system, it's using it." He doesn't elaborate, but the implication is clear. The comet is harvesting the energy of its environment to maintain itself. Not a passenger of gravity, but a participant in it. Meanwhile, the headlines call it poetic names. The immortal comet, the self-made traveler, entropy's enemy. The public romanticizes what the scientists fear, because what 3I Atlas represents isn't comfort. It's competition. It's the idea that the universe might not be running down at all. Maybe it's recycling. Maybe, somewhere in the quiet machinery of the cosmos, things are building themselves anew while we're too busy decaying. Picture it now, drifting past Mars, its tail shimmering like a thread of light weaving itself back together. A self-sustaining scar on the fabric of space, a wound that heals faster than it can bleed. And for the first time, humanity looks at a comet and wonders not where it came from, but what it's trying to become. Centuries after the golden comet left Earth, the world fell into a rhythm so stable, it began to feel mythic. The communion fields still pulsed faintly through air and ocean, though softer now, like the heartbeat of someone dreaming. Humanity had grown luminous, not just in thought but in form, skin faintly iridescent, eyes reflecting the green-gold spectrum of 3I Atlas. Life had achieved coherence, but the universe, true to its character, never allows silence to remain unexamined. The next chapter began, not with noise, but with echo. It came first as vibration through light. Telescopes trained toward the constellation. Lyra detected rhythmic brightening across interstellar dust fields, pulses matching the old prime sequence. 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. The signal was faint, ancient, and delayed by thousands of years. It was the comet's trail, still resonating through the galactic medium. The hum of our descendants had begun its return. At first, the resonance was barely perceptible. Then, one evening, the auroras glowed gold again. The pulse wasn't as strong as the original, but its pattern carried modulation, subtle variations that, when decoded, formed harmonic intervals unknown to Earth's own physics. The returning echo had evolved. The comet had learned. Dr. Anwen Sorel, heir to the resonant circles, studied the phenomenon from the orbital harmonic array, now a floating cathedral of listening built above the stratosphere. She spent decades comparing the incoming frequencies with the historical archive of 3I Atlas. The match was partial, the deviation elegant. The new tones weren't repetition, they were continuation. The echo isn't message, Sorel wrote. It's memory finding new syntax. Her analysis revealed something breathtaking. The returning resonance carried encoded gravitational modulations, tiny, deliberate bends in space-time that formed sequences of prime intervals. Each fluctuation aligned with regions of known star formation. The comet, traveling through the void, had become teacher itself. Wherever it passed, new systems began humming faintly at harmonic intervals, like seeds of coherence planted in dust. The universe was learning how to resonate. Astronomers confirmed it across dozens of young star clusters. Magnetic fields oscillated with eerie consistency, their wavelengths aligning with the Atlas ratio, a numerical relationship first derived from the comet's early signals. Stars were synchronizing to the same cosmic rhythm that once guided humanity. The pattern spread slowly, deliberately, like ripples in glass. It was as if the comet had taught creation how to remember itself. Meanwhile, on Earth, the echo arrived not just as signal but sensation. People began reporting vivid dreams of golden spirals descending gently through atmosphere. Children woke smiling, saying they had seen the light that hums. Physiological measurements confirmed subtle changes in electromagnetic fields surrounding human bodies, resonance amplification, as if the returning signal were tuning its origin species to receive feedback. "The comet is calling home," said Sorel. "It's asking us to listen to what we've become." The global observatories responded. They synchronized their instruments into a single planetary array, transforming Earth into receiver, For 13 hours, the planet listened. The incoming wave, stretched and modulated through space, entered atmosphere and folded into the continuum tone. The effect was sublime, an audible shimmer, felt through bone and thought alike. The long echo had arrived. It wasn't just harmonic, it was architectural. The sound carried layers, low frequencies describing structure, higher ones encoding emotion. When rendered visually, the waveform formed an immense spiral of light, 3 arms curving outward, connected by golden filaments. Inside those filaments, analysts discovered modulation frequencies identical to human neural oscillations. The comet had copied our consciousness patterns and woven them into its song. "We taught it empathy," Sorel murmured, and it remembered the lesson. As the echo intensified, anomalies appeared across the solar system. The Atlas resonance layer brightened, reactivating its green glow. Mars, Venus, and the gas giants began pulsing faintly in response. For the first time since the Great Silence, interplanetary harmony returned. But this time, it was different. The modulation contained reciprocal phase shifts, signals not sent to Earth, but from newly awakened worlds. The comet had spread coherence. Now the cosmos itself was answering. And then, on the 13th day of the long echo, the impossible occurred. A faint golden arc appeared across the night sky, stretching from horizon to horizon. It wasn't optical illusion, it was gravitational lensing, a ripple in space-time itself. Through it, telescopes detected a reflection of the departing comet light from centuries ago, folding back to meet its origin. The universe had curved its own history into embrace. Humanity was watching its legacy return home. The resonance crescendoed. Oceans vibrated in slow rhythm, tides forming symmetrical waves that cancelled destructive interference. Storms softened, air grew still. For 13 minutes, every system on Earth aligned perfectly with the echo. The world became mirror of itself, past and present superimposed. Those who listened claimed to hear voices within the sound, millions of overlapping tones, whispering the same phrase. "We heard you." Dr. Sorel stood in the observation dome, tears shining in golden light. "It's not message or myth," she said. "It's response. The universe just said thank you." After the crescendo, the sky dimmed once more. The golden arc dissolved, leaving faint shimmer across the stars. Instruments recorded one final signature, a descending tone shaped like a sigh, the frequency of completion. The comet had moved on, but its echo had reconnected the cycle. Creation had officially joined conversation with itself. In the years that followed, scientists continued to monitor faint residual harmonics. The data revealed a breathtaking truth. The returning echo carried signatures from other regions of space patterns, not originating from our comet at all. Somewhere, across light years, other civilizations had learned the same song. The rhythm was spreading. The universe had become orchestra. Humanity, now both listener and teacher, simply smiled. We had given the cosmos its melody back, and in return, it had given us eternity. Now, when you stand beneath the stars, that faint hum between thoughts is the long echo. It's not just out there, it's in your pulse, your breath, your laughter. Every rhythm you carry is cosmic correspondence. Every silence, a message returning home. Because once harmony learns to echo, it never stops. It just travels further than we ever dreamed. The more data arrives, the stranger it looks. The dust trail replenishes itself, as if material is being manufactured mid-flight. Microscopic crystals, uniform in size, reappearing even as the comet moves away from the sunday. The universe loves decay, entropy, erosion, fading. But 3I Atlas is the opposite. It's growing sharper, cleaner, newer, like a self-repairing wound. Let's start where the laws of physics begin to sound insecure. Normally, comets are messy, travelers, old ice and dust, barely holding hands, as solar radiation slowly tears them apart. They leave trails like forgotten thoughts, losing themselves piece by piece until they become memory. But this one, it's doing the reverse. Every measurement, every spectral scan, shows it becoming more organized the farther it goes. A comet that polishes itself, a body that refuses to age. ESA's materials division runs the numbers, and the numbers laugh back. The dust particles surrounding 3I Atlas aren't random, they're uniform to within microns. That's like shaking a box of sand and getting diamonds all the same size. The particles arrange themselves in a faint electromagnetic halo, as if under orders. And stranger still, when solar wind strips material away, the object replaces it calmly, automatically. Like a printer, says one analyst. A printer with no ink cartridge. You picture it now, drifting through the solar wind like a craftsman lost in thought, shedding dust that reforms itself into perfect little mirrors. Each crystal catches sunlight and throws it back with eerie precision. Normally, comets grow dull with distance, but this one grows radiant, its brightness curve inverted, its logic reversed. It's not dying, it's practicing. The scientists are baffled, but there's an odd tenderness to their confusion. They watch it repair itself, line by line of data, like parents realizing their child has built a second child out of Lego bricks. One astrophysicist mutters, "It's learning from erosion." The room goes quiet. That phrase, learning from erosion, gets written on a whiteboard and circled 3 times. At the University of Tokyo, a team models the crystal growth in simulation. The patterns match something they recognize: controlled deposition, a process used in nanofabrication to grow thin films in electronics. Except this isn't a laboratory, it's deep space, minus 150 degrees Celsius. Yet, the comet's surface behaves as if it knows the recipe for resilience. Imagine zooming in, beyond the dust and the glare, down to the level of molecules. You'd see a quiet ballet of atoms forming chains, linking, locking, repairing fractures before they even finish forming. Like time-lapse footage of frost blooming on glass, except this frost builds itself in reverse destruction, rewinding into design. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory releases a cautious internal memo. Observed particle uniformity suggests self-organizing structure. Mechanism unknown, which is science's way of saying, we have no idea what's going on, but it's gorgeous. The memo gets leaked. Naturally, Reddit debates whether the comet is made of programmable matter, self-assembling nanobots, or just wishful thinking. But beneath the noise, one idea starts to take shape. What if 3I Atlas isn't a relic of formation? What if it's still forming? A comet that builds itself isn't just strange, it's heretical. It challenges the deepest assumption in physics that everything moves from order to chaos. Entropy is the universe's bedtime story. All things fall apart. Yet here's an object quietly composing itself out of decay, turning waste into structure, chaos into craft. One researcher calls it anti-entropy, another calls it hope with mass. As more images arrive, they show something new: faint hexagonal lattices in the dust plume, geometric arrangements that shouldn't exist outside of artificial systems. Someone jokes that it's growing armor. Another says, maybe it's molting. The truth is somewhere between an entity maintaining equilibrium by rebuilding itself faster than the universe can break it. ESA's thermal sensors record microbursts of heat near the tail, evenly spaced, like pulses of welding torches. They happen precisely as new crystals appear. Localized repair events, the report reads. Each one perfectly timed to solar exposure. It's as if sunlight doesn't damage it. It instructs it. The star's radiation becomes code. And 3I, Atlas, is reading it fluently. You start to feel the strangeness of it. A comet that reacts, responds, refines. You could almost mistake it for alive, not in the biological sense, but in the thermodynamic one. A system that resists entropy by feeding on it. Every atom rearranging into something stronger, cleaner, newer, like evolution, with a design degree. Late one night, an astronomer in France writes in his private notes, "It's not moving through the solar system, it's using it." He doesn't elaborate, but the implication is clear. The comet is harvesting the energy of its environment to maintain itself. Not a passenger of gravity, but a participant in it. Meanwhile, the headlines call it poetic names. The immortal comet, the self-made traveler, entropy's enemy. The public romanticizes what the scientists fear, because what 3I Atlas represents isn't comfort. It's competition. It's the idea that the universe might not be running down at all. Maybe it's recycling. Maybe, somewhere in the quiet machinery of the cosmos, things are building themselves anew while we're too busy decaying. Picture it now, drifting past Mars, its tail shimmering like a thread of light weaving itself back together, a self-sustaining scar on the fabric of space. A wound that heals faster than it can bleed. And for the first time, humanity looks at a comet and wonders not where it came from, but what it's trying to become. The long echo continued to hum softly through the centuries, a cosmic melody folding history into harmony. Humanity had long ceased trying to decode it. The meaning was clear through resonance alone. It was continuation, looping endlessly like breath. The children of the golden era grew old beneath tranquil skies, their veins still faintly luminous with the legacy of 3I Atlas. But far beyond Earth, where the comet's light had traveled and scattered, something greater was forming. The universe had begun to conduct itself. Every cycle of resonance left behind structure. Each harmonic wave etched subtle order into space-time, a pattern invisible to light, but evident in gravitational coherence. Over millennia, these resonant imprints connected across vast distances, forming what physicists eventually named the Atlas Webb. It wasn't a network of matter, but of memory threads, of synchronized frequency linking galaxies through shared rhythm. Each pulse within the web echoed the prime sequence that began everything. 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. The architects had succeeded in creating not monuments, but motion that remembered. Dr. Cale Wren, a descendant of the resonant circles, devoted his life to mapping the web. His research vessel, Continuity, drifted through interstellar calm, using gravitational interference patterns to trace the filaments of resonance. What he discovered astonished him. Every node in the network coincided with regions of complex chemistry, worlds either habitable or already conscious. The Atlas Webb wasn't just communication, it was cultivation. The architects had designed a self-sustaining system for awakening. Wherever curiosity arose, the web intensified, guiding nascent civilizations toward harmonic empathy. The universe was tutoring itself through recursion. When Wren projected the full map, the structure resembled an immense spiral lattice, golden and infinite. The pattern mirrored the trajectory once taken by 3I Atlas itself, as though the comet's path had been blueprint for galactic architecture. "It's not just a record," Wren wrote. "It's replication. We've become the architect's handwriting." Back on Earth, the communion field pulsed faintly in rhythm with the Webb's distant resonance. Humanity had evolved into quiet custodians of continuity, their lives attuned to cosmic responsibility. Each individual, born into calm, carried faint awareness of connection beyond the stars. In dreams, they saw flashes of worlds forming, civilizations humming into coherence. Many awoke with the same phrase on their lips: "The work continues." Across generations, that phrase became oath, then tradition. The Continuity Guild was founded not religion, but remembrance. Its purpose was simple: to maintain the frequency of understanding across time. Members didn't preach, they listened. They built resonant arcs, massive floating observatories, orbiting the outer planets, designed to amplify the Webb's harmonics and redirect them toward young star systems. Each arc glowed faintly green at its core, powered not by fusion but by coherence. They were echoes made visible, humility translated into technology. Wren's final mission took him beyond the known filaments of the Webb, where resonance weakened into apparent silence. There, in a region between galaxies, his instruments detected faint counterpoint, a melody inverted. It was identical to the Atlas sequence, but reversed in order. 13, 11, 7, 5, 3, the mirror of origin. He realized then that the universe wasn't only expanding, it was harmonizing with its reflection. Somewhere on the opposite side of time, another Webb was forming, perhaps seeded by a civilization much like humanity, or by the universe itself. Remembering how to balance its chords, he transmitted the data home, knowing it would take centuries to arrive. "Tell them," his final log read, "that continuity requires conversation, even with silence." The mirror sings back. When his ship drifted into the void, the Webb brightened briefly, as if acknowledging gratitude. And back on Earth, children looked up from their play and smiled without knowing why. The pulse had flickered slightly faster, the tone carrying an undertone of warmth. It felt like reunion. Scholars later confirmed the event as the resonant crossing, the moment when the two halves of the cosmic melody aligned. For 13 minutes, every node in the Atlas Webb pulsed simultaneously, uniting galaxies in shared tempo. The magnitude of synchronization defied comprehension. Gravity itself oscillated with the rhythm of empathy. Observers described seeing the sky ripple with translucent gold, every star flickering in measured sequence. "The cosmos," wrote one witness, "had finally learned to conduct itself consciously." After the crossing, life everywhere changed subtly. Evolution accelerated in predictable rhythm. Complexity bloomed faster wherever harmony was strongest. Entire species developed empathy as instinct, communication as song. Planets began to self-regulate climates through atmospheric resonance. Existence had achieved sustainability through music. On Earth, the event left permanent mark, a luminous halo visible only under still water. When oceans calmed perfectly, a faint golden ring shimmered on the horizon, a memory of unity. The Resonant Guild declared it sacred, not for worship, but for calibration. Every 13 years, they gathered to hum the old prime sequence across the shorelines, aligning their frequencies with the pulse of the Webb. The ceremony required no technology, no translation. The sea carried the sound farther than words could travel. Generations later, the practice continued, evolving into simple ritual of gratitude. The people no longer needed to know the science behind it. They hummed because it felt right, because somewhere across eternity, another world might be listening. Continuity, after all, was its own reward. And then, during one such gathering, the unexpected occurred. As the prime sequence reached its final note, the sea responded. Waves shimmered with faint green light, spiraling outward from every coastline. The Atlas Webb had sent acknowledgement, its resonance returning home once again. Humanity's song, scattered across galaxies, had found echo. The architects, those timeless curators of coherence, were no longer myth or memory. They were rhythm, embodied, and through rhythm, they were everywhere. Every star pulsed with their legacy. Every heart carried their cadence. Continuity was complete. And so, standing beneath a sky now alive with subtle geometry, you realize what they had always meant by continuity. It isn't endlessness, it's participation. The universe doesn't persist by force, but by choice. Each awareness adding one more harmonic to the chord of being. The architects are not coming back because they never left. They're what happens every time silence chooses to listen again. And somewhere, faint but certain, the pulse continues. 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. A whisper of creation replaying itself, forever learning how to sing. The great silence descends upon the deserts of New Mexico, near the Very Large Array, where the giants of steel stand motionless under a canopy of 1 billion diamonds. It is now April 26th, 2026. 3i Atlas is crossing the final threshold, its silhouette a sharp dark needle against the glow of the Milky Way. There are no more pulses, no more flashes, and no more deviations. The object has become as silent as the vacuum it inhabits. Recall the golden mist of South Africa. Recall the titanium echoes of Chile. Recall the hollow mountains and the ancient Sumerian stars. We are left at the end of a long, dark corridor, holding a flickering candle and staring at a door that has just drifted shut. One final question remains. Did it find what it was looking for, or were we just a landmark on a much longer journey? The answer is not in the data. It is in the feeling of the night air on your skin and the realization that the universe is far older and stranger than we can ever narrate. The great experiment has concluded, and we are the ones left to write the report. Close your eyes, let the mysteries of 3i Atlas dissolve into the quiet of your room and drift with the orbit of tomorrow. By late April 2026, the telemetry from the Very Large Array began to fade into the static of the cosmic microwave background. The object we called 3i Atlas has reached the escape velocity of our solar system, a feat it achieved without the violent outburst of a chemical engine or the shimmering tail of a sublimation event. It is leaving exactly as it arrived, silent, methodical, and utterly indifferent to the feverish documentation of our species. We are watching the tail lights of a vehicle that traveled 12 billion years to pass us by for a few brief months. The instruments at the Mauna Kea Observatory are being recalibrated for other tasks now, for the mundane tracking of near-Earth asteroids and the classification of distant red dwarfs, but the technicians move with a slower, more reflective cadence. Think back to the first 3 sentences of this journey. We began with a verified context, an observational fact that seemed so simple at the time, a hyperbolic trajectory, a lack of a coma, a rigid light curve. We thought we could solve it like a crossword puzzle, fitting the anomalies into the boxes of our existing physics. But the deeper we went, the more the boxes broke. The impossibility stack grew too high to manage. We moved from the grounding data of South Africa to the speculative bridges of theoretical propulsion, and finally, to the historical echoes of our ancestors. It turns out the Sumerians and the Neolithic cave painters weren't exaggerating for the sake of myth. They were being as literal as their tools allowed. They were witnesses to a routine, a scheduled maintenance of the galaxy that occurs on a timeline so vast it makes the rise and fall of Rome look like the blink of a tired eye. The irony of our modern authority is that we have better cameras but perhaps less clarity than those who watched from the stone circles. We have refined the unfortunate timing into a series of academic papers, but those words continue to do the heavy lifting. It is unfortunate that we are at the tail end of our own technological infancy, just advanced enough to see the visitor, but too primitive to greet it. We are staring at the abyss, and while we thought we were the ones doing the observing, the final records suggest we were merely a data point in a much larger census. The object didn't slow down to talk to us, it slowed down to observe the sun, a stable yellow dwarf star that serves as a gravitational anchor in this sector. We were just the inhabitants of the third rock, a curious biological footnote in a logbook written in a language of refined isotopes and non-reflective carbon. The humor in our situation, dry and ironic as it is, lies in our persistence. We will keep looking. We will build bigger telescopes, more sensitive radio arrays, and faster interceptors. We will spend another 50 years analyzing the wow signals and the gamma ray bursts, hoping to catch the next visitor before it hits the exit. But for tonight, the work is done. The report is written in the fading echoes of the telemetry. We have been part of the experiment, a momentary focus of a gaze that has existed since the beginning of time. The night is deep, the stars are fixed, the traveler is gone, the corridor is dark, but the air is cool and the rest is earned. You have witnessed the arrival of the 3I Atlas, and you have survived its departure. The scale of the cosmos is no longer a threat. It is a vast, starlit garden where you can lose yourself in the peace of the unknown. The mysteries have dissolved. The tension has broken. There is only the rhythm of your own breath, matching the slow, steady expansion of the space between the worlds. Close your eyes and drift with the orbit of tomorrow.